미제가 사용한 세균 무기들입니다. 미국 침략자들은 각종 형태의 용기에 유독곤충을 넣어 투하 산포하였습니다. 미제 식인종들은 많은 종류의 유독곤충들과 병균을 묻힌 음식물 및 장난감 등에 각포하였습니다. 놈들은 고무뱀, 개구리, 참새 등의 동물들과 떡, 물고기 등의 음식물과 털, 종이, 나무잎, 곰뭉치 등의 기타 많은 유독물품들과 파리, 벼룩, 물도래, 어거지, 거미, 거미파리 등의 보균곤충들을 투하 산포함으로써 조선인민들을 대량적으로 살육하려고 하며 인간 심리를 농락하려고 하였습니다. 미제의 세균 만행에 분격한 전체 조선인민들은 지방주권기관과 내무기관과의 긴밀한 연계 밑에 미제가 투하한 세균 무기에 대한 방역 정보를 신속히 상급에 보고하는 한편 강력한 방역 대책을 강구하고 있습니다. 언제나 출동할 수 있는 태세를 갖추고 있는 방역 대원들은 기동성 있게 세균 독충이 투하된 현장으로 달려갑니다. 여기는 경양 부근 보균 독충이 투하된 현장입니다. 재빨리 출동한 방역대원들은 시험용으로 보균 독충을 고른 다음 현장 일대를 불사르고 소독 매몰함으로써 미 제국주의자들이 태산같이 믿고 원자탄 다음가는 대량 살육 무기를 버리는 더러운 벌레들을 모조리 소탕하고 있습니다. 여기는 경남 대동군 지방입니다. 뉘른베르크 법정에서 심판받은 자들의 운명을 면치 못할 백악관의 살인 흉계자들은 인간을 살육하기 위해서는 그 무슨 짓이라도 헤아리지 않고 감행하고 있습니다. 흉악한 원수놈들은 여기에도 조선인민의 생명을 빼앗으려고 콜레라균을 보유한 조개를 산포하였습니다. 이 근처에 살고 있는 조만복 이영자 부부는 간악한 원수놈들이 산포한 조개라는 것을 모르고 주워다 먹은 결과 구토설사를 한 다음 불행하게도 사망되었으며 적지 않은 우리 동포들이 흉악한 원수놈들의 세균 만행으로 고통과 신음 속에 빠지게 되었습니다.
The members of the International Scientific Commission interrogate Floyd Brelan O'Neill, Second Lieutenant, United States Air Force Reserve.
Floyd Brelan O'Neill. I'm Second Lieutenant, United States Air Force Reserve, serial number AO184H575. My home address is Box 66, Moy Avenue, Fairfax, South Carolina. The instructions which I have received in regard to bacteriological warfare consisted of 2 lectures. One lecture was given at Luke Air Force Base, which is in the United States, at Phoenix, Arizona, on December the 1st, 1951. This was a short lecture lasting only 30 minutes. The second lecture was given at K-46, the advanced base of the 18th Fighter Bomber Group in Korea here. This lecture was given on the 22nd of January, 1952. This lecture was much more complete on the bacteriological weapons which we would be using. This lecture lasted for approximately 2 hours. Then the only other instruction I received, of course, was the order to carry out my germ warfare mission.
What did you feel like? What was your state of mind when you carried out this germ warfare mission?
Frankly, I was, I think, the most nervous I've ever been in my life. I also felt like it was rather a funeral rather than a usual mission. It's difficult to describe one's feelings in these cases, although I never wanted to participate in bacteriological warfare. I guess you might say I was coward enough to go ahead and do as I was told. These thoughts were certainly in my mind. They were in the back of my mind, let's say. I tried to force a thought down. It's like swallowing a very bitter pill. I tried as much as I could not to think about it.
Would you describe the reaction of your comrades when they knew that the United States forces were waging bacteriological warfare?
Well, sir, I can only describe the feelings which I observed in the fellow pilots who attended the second lecture, the other three pilots, because those are the ones whom I observed the reaction in immediately after we found out that the U.S. forces were using germ warfare in Korea. Among those men and myself, I think the main thing was a sense of horror, of abhorrence. Certainly there was a great element of surprise in it. It was, as I said before, I felt that I was well on my way to somebody else's funeral. We had been told that we were not to discuss this even among ourselves, and coming out from the lecture, coming out from having just been told this, no one said anything. The four of us were in what you might call stunned silence. I know I was wondering myself why on earth we were using this terrible weapon in Korea even while the peace talks were going on at Kaesong, when the war was practically stopped. It's very difficult to say how the others felt. I could only judge from their looks and their actions.
O'Neill makes a final statement before the members of the commission.
When I think of my future, when I think of someday, though I'm not married yet, I intend to be, when my son asks me what I did in Korea, how can I tell him that I came over here and dropped germ bombs on people, destroying and bringing death and destruction? How can I go back and face my family in a civilized world? How can I tell them these things, that I am a criminal in the eyes of humanity? They are my flesh and blood. It's the most difficult thing to really give a man's feelings a vocal expression. I can't try. I can only tell you somewhat of how I feel.
The members of the commission interrogate Paul R. Niss, First Lieutenant, United States Air Force Reserve.
My name, as you all know, is Paul R. Niss, and as recently I was a First Lieutenant in the United States Air Force Reserve, serial number A01909070. I entered the Air Force in 1946 as a corporal. I graduated from pilot training in 1949, 1st July. After that, I was an instructor and instructed at Craig Air Force Base, that is at Selma, Alabama, until the 30th of January 1952 when I was ordered to Korea. I reported to Camp Stoneman, California, that's just outside of San Francisco, 21st of February this same year, 1952. From there, I received my assignment overseas and my transportation overseas. I arrived at K-46, that's a code name for our air base. It's at Wonju, the 20th of March, 1952. It's a F-51 base with the 18th Fighter Bomber Group there. I was assigned to the 12th Squadron, 12th Fighter Bomber Squadron, 18th Fighter Bomber Group. I had a total of 26 missions when I was shot down. I was shot down on my 27th mission, the 31st of May, 1952, near Namsi, that is close to Sinanju. One other thing that I forgot to mention on the germ bombs that we could tell them they were germ bombs from an ordinary bomb was the loading time. The germ bombs were loaded 15 minutes before our mission, while ordinarily our aircraft were loaded 2 hours or more before a mission. Well, after I left this lecture, I couldn't help recall the two lectures that I'd received previously, actually, but the one I mainly thought about was Captain Holloman's lecture at Camp Stoneman about trying to convince us so hard that we weren't conducting germ warfare and to deny the stories. Well, I was beginning to get an idea of how two-faced some people could be. I mean, even the men that were conducting the war weren't even being told the truth about it. My germination took place on the 27th of March, 1952, and it was a VT germination.
27th?
27th March, yes, 1952. At 05:30, myself, Captain Thomas, that's our flight leader, Captain Bruton, and First Lieutenant Fleur reported to the group briefing room with Captain McLaughlin. We went in the room and he locked the door. He brought out some photographs of some hills south of Sarawan, about 10 miles. These hills, the photographs showed some hills there with a railroad track and some bare spots. Sarawan, yes. About 10 miles, with some bare spots on them. These bare spots are gun positions, he stated. We're going to send you men out on a flax press mission. Well, they have a magnifying glass there that you can look at the photographs. I've often looked at them. I looked at these, and I couldn't see anything that looked like a gun position or a gun. Normally you can see something that resembles maybe a gun or a gun position on a photograph such as this. As I said before, he stated our mission was a flax presser mission. He gave us a takeoff time of 0700 in the morning. We were to take off, climb to 10,000 feet, and proceed to the target. Over the target, dive from 10,000 to 6,000 feet, release our bombs, and return to K-46. And when we returned from the mission, we would naturally report to him, mission accomplished, results unobserved, if the mission was successful. Well, about 6:45, I went out to my airplane. I previously went from the group briefing room over to my squadron operations and put on my flying equipment. As I said, at 6:45, I went out to my airplane to check it over. As I was out there, I noticed the men loading the bombs on it. And they were in the uniforms as he had described them to us, in the white fatigues, the mask, and the gloves. These men took the bombs out of this closed truck and loaded them by hand. Normally, they've got a jack that they jack them up with. These bombs were loaded by hand. I looked at them to see if they were on the hooks. I didn't shake them naturally, and then I got in my airplane and started up. After the debriefing with Captain McLaughlin, we went to our shower room and took a shower. In the shower, I made the remark to Captain Thomas at the time that the shower may clean my body, but my soul would never be clean after such an incident. After committing such an act. I believe that's easily understandable, and I can never be able to express in words just how much it actually sickened me, and I know the other men reacted the same way. They weren't happy or carefree as they usually are after a mission. Not happy because they killed somebody, but there's usually the talk after a mission. They talk about it, how they almost got shot down or something like that, but there is no talk. You can tell by their attitude that it was very distasteful to all of them. The next day, we got our blood test from our doctor. We went and reported it to the doctor at 8 o'clock in the morning.